everyone has a definition of what a metaverse is. We define it as a virtual social shared space. I'm like, guys, I just want to be a kid again. Make hay when the sun shines.
Yes.
So make sure you are pivoting and you're doing as much as possible when you can.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of the podcast in partnership with Smartcast and Najahi Events. More about them later. Now, the metaverse is something that we're all getting a little bit confused by. But imagine somebody that's focus is to try and make the metaverse more human. Well, that's exactly what happened to me when I went to his office last week to understand exactly what Vault Hill within the metaverse do. Today's guest is Jimi Daodu. He's the founder and CEO of Vault Hill. And he wants to make the metaverse feel more human for all of us. So I can't wait to get into this interview. Let's cue the music. Our sponsors are Smartcast, who are trying to solve the food security problem that exists in this world. We've got soil erosion, we've got climate change, and we have to look at different ways to produce crops so that those crops can feed the ever-growing population. And it's a really important issue. So go check out Smartcast Tech, SmartKastech on Instagram. Give them a follow, look at their journey, look at what these wonderful people are doing to try and make the world a better place for all of us. Najahi Events have been a sponsor of ours since the very beginning. They bring motivational speakers, inspirational leaders here into the Middle East so that we can learn, develop ourselves and grow. Good examples of that are people like Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Gary Vaynerchuk. All of these big names come through Najahi Events. They've supported me and I would like you to support them. So go give them a follow at Najahi Events, Najahi Events, Events. And learn about what they're doing because there's some value in there for all of us. We're here to talk about Vault Hill, okay, your business, and talk about crypto, the metaverse, and what's going on out there at the moment. And obviously, as we're recording this right now, we've seen a massive decrease in the price of all of these coins, whether they be the stable coins, the altcoins, the big coins, the small coins. Everything's gone kind of like very negative over recent time, 50% down over 6 months. And so there's lots of kind of concern and fear and people have lost money. And my big issue with the crypto space is that a lot of people got involved in crypto, like momentum investors. They wait for something to perform really well, and they're like, "Oh, I better get some of that." And FOMO, and they really don't understand what they're buying into. And so, what I want to try and do today is give people a bit of an education through your business and what you do. Okay, so what I want to do is dumb it down a little bit, okay, but I also want to go into a bit of depth with it. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, absolutely fine.
Okay, so let's tell me a bit about Vault Hill, how it started, what it is, and then let's talk about the metaverse.
Okay, so Vault Hill is the world's first human-centric metaverse, and what do I mean by that? Let's actually unpack it in a number of ways. Let's start with human centricity, and then we'll pivot into metaverse, and then what we do and how we bring that together. So when we talk about human centricity, we're talking about the things that make you and I human. So things like romance, play, vitality, idealism, creativity, community, and the likes. And we've looked through 13 basic human instincts and picked 7 out of that. So our model, the way we build the metaverse, is based on these 7 human instincts, right? And for us, when we talk about this, is working with brands, customers, content creators, consumers in each of these human instinct themed districts, right? So if I take vitality, for example, what does that mean to be human-centric in a metaverse in vitality? So we're working with a fitness app company in Hong Kong called Today Fit, where we're building a meditation and wellness center for them in the metaverse. So their consumers, their customers, their investors, their stakeholders can jump into a VR headset and experience Today Fit in our metaverse. So we provide that platform for that interaction socially. And again, it's wellness, it's mindfulness, it's meditation, all of that good stuff that we need, in our day-to-day today. And then if we then unpack the metaverse, everyone has a definition of what a metaverse is. We define it as a virtual social shared space where computer generated environments can interact with ourselves in the virtual world. So you jump into a virtual reality headset, or have an augmented reality phone, or a mixed reality headset. Again, the hardware, the technology is advancing at the speed of light. Like Spencer, it is unbelievable. Like Apple just released a couple of updates, I think yesterday. Meta is doing stuff in the world. Lenovo, Magic Leap. A lot of companies are spending billions of dollars in research and development on the infrastructure to power the metaverse. So again, coupling these two together, humanity, the technology, into the metaverse is what we're propagating at Vault Hill.
So why does the metaverse matter? I mean, so many people out there are learning about this, but my dad's 77 years old, and he's like, yeah, no idea, and I'm not interested. I've just worked out what YouTube is. And okay, so he's one end of the spectrum, yeah, he's old. Then you take someone like me who's 52 years old, and I'm like, how am I going to use the metaverse in my everyday life?
Yeah.
And then I think about my kids who are 20 and 22, and they've grown up a lot with technology and online gaming and stuff like that. They've seen that kind of stuff. And so the conversation around the metaverse seems much more fluid with them.
Yeah.
So how will it, I'm 52 years old. How is it going to benefit me?
So again, it's like taking you back to the early 90s when the internet started kicking off, right? And again, folks at that demographic in terms of age, race, country, whatever it is, felt the same way. How will the internet benefit me? I pick up the phone, I talk to someone, or I fly somewhere to see someone. Again, the internet brought that advancement in how we communicate, how we learn, how we socialize. The metaverse is doing the same. So rather than you being outside of the internet, now you're in the internet, immersed in the internet, and taking all of those steps. Now, if you look at statistics within learning, there's a lot of studies out there. I can't remember which of the research houses quoted this, but learning with virtual reality improves retention rate by about 26% than the classroom, right? So you have benefits in that. Working out with virtual reality headsets or virtual reality devices reduces stress and improves calorie burns and all of that good stuff. So there are a lot of benefits with all of these technologies as they come about. And to your point, I mean, my dad is 5 years younger than your dad. And when I started this, it took me a while to explain it to him. He's computer savvy, right? But it took me a while to explain it to him and invested. And I kid you not, the first time we distributed tokens, I had to be on a call with him for 30 minutes to tell him, hey, you have a trust wallet. All right, Dad, we've sent it to you. You need to add the contract address of the token. You need to do this. So again, trying to break it down. It's not the most easy industry. We all agree. And part of what we're doing at Vault Hill is looking at it from a human-centric perspective with user experience, UX, to say, okay, how do we get this accessible, right? How do we make this more user-friendly? How do we demystify the terminologies, all the acronyms, the complex words? It's not easy because it's all complex technology, right? But it's now taking a step back, educating people. A lot of our mantra of Vault Hill is about education. We're here on the Spencer Lodge podcast talking about Metaverse to educate people around what we're doing. We're having conversations with Canadian University Dubai to set up another podcast on corporate training and add to their curriculum eventually around blockchain, NFTs, and Metaverse. So for us, it's all about education. That's where you bring adoption. The more you can explain it, the more you can get people to understand, oh, this is how it differs. Oh, this is the difference. Wow, okay, I get it now.
It's interesting you say that, and it kind of like triggered something in my mind then, because you said about the user experience. And to me, if you think about kids that have been learning, they've been in the classroom. If they had a science teacher, then they'd be on a bench and there'd be, Bunsen burners and all that kind of stuff going on, very interactive. Yeah. And then COVID came, yeah, and then everyone moved online to virtual classes, essentially on Zoom. Yeah. And the level of attention went down, the level of engagement went down, the level of patience for the teachers and the students went down. And overall, it didn't work. Yeah. Okay, people would much rather be in the classroom,
Absolutely.
okay, experiencing it. So if we take that example, the
Yeah.
virtual world essentially is someone who's on a screen talking at you. The user experience of going into the metaverse is essentially going to take me with whatever device I have on
Yeah.
into that classroom.
Yeah.
Literally into that classroom again, but from my home.
Correct.
I think a lot of people don't really grasp that. There are a lot of people out there that have seen this, because education's a good example.
Yeah.
I'm in a classroom. I'm now sat on a laptop.
Yeah.
Okay. I hate sitting on a laptop for 8 hours a day. How can you expect kids to sit and stay there? But if you then take the next step, and the kids were doing their class where they felt they were immersed in that subject, in that class, they were engaged because of that. That whole user experience to me is where it's going to be the biggest difference and the biggest level of adoption.
Absolutely.
And I think that we can take UX when we think about apps, can't we? You know, it takes something as simple as Uber. The easier it is to use, the more you're going to use it.
Correct.
Okay, and so it becomes very natural that, you know, I've got 2 daughters. One's got a car and passed a driving test. Okay, she wanted to drive. She's 22 now. I've got my youngest one who's 20 now. She didn't pass a test. Okay, and she's looking at me. She's like, "Why do I need a car? Can I have your Uber account, Dad?" Because that's just very naturally very easy for her. You know, that's frictionless. You know, car, parking, petrol. Like, why? I can just get in somebody else's car and not have to worry about it.
Absolutely.
So essentially, if people are going to invest in the metaverse and know what the metaverse is and like know what they're investing in, essentially, the better and better that user experience is, the easier it's going to be for somebody to be there, correct?
Absolutely. And you're spot on with that example of how we pivoted from the classroom to online. I wouldn't call it virtual. I call it online learning. And then the next phase feels like it's virtual learning, which again is a subset of the metaverse, right? So one of the things, you know, to consider is the impact of COVID, right? Mentally, you know, working parents had to quickly, you know, jump into a new routine where, you know, you wake up, you get your kids ready for online class and you get yourself ready for work. And, you know, your kids could be right here on the same table with you, learning, making noise, and you're on a Zoom call with your office. So again, the dynamics was just very, very complex, right? People weren't prepared for it. Even the teachers, the schools, learning institutions had to quickly pivot, right? Now, what we're doing in the metaverse is starting to work through those and get people prepared, right? I keep saying to everyone I speak to, a lot of reasons why we're focusing on education is that is the fundamental place where people learn. So, and I keep saying this, we will start to see a greater adoption when universities or colleges or institutions start to charge or start to add as part of their expenses to running universities the cost of a hardware or AR, virtual reality or augmented reality headsets.
Okay,
right?
but hold on a minute, because every single time, without exception, that I've put an Oculus or equivalent headset on, including in your office the other day, it doesn't work straight away.
Right.
So that not only is the kind of like the hardware quite cumbersome, okay, but it's, you got to learn how to navigate it, and it doesn't always work. And like you were saying, what can you see? Where's the evolution of that?
So this analogy is perfect with the floppy disk and the computers, right? Started off with, I can't remember what it was, pre-floppy, and a couple of people are like, what is floppy disk? Basically, that's where we are. So that went from the big one to the floppy where you had 1.4 MB of storage. Imagine just having 1.4 MB of storage. And then we went to the CDs, you had 700 MBs. You then went to the flash drives where you had 2 gigs, 3 gigs, and now you have the cloud, unlimited storage. So again, that was the evolution of storage and, you know, media disk space. That is where we are right now. You know, this technology has been around for the past 20 odd years, right? And companies have been experimenting, researching, and developing. However, you still need to bear in mind that there's a cost element to this, right? If it's not profitable, a company's just going to bin it, right? So the wave of Facebook changing the name to Meta and saying, hey, this is where we're pivoting to, has started driving that drum roll of this is where it's going to. Advancement from a technological perspective is coming here. So back to your question, we're in the evolution of the floppy. We're still going to get to the CD, where the devices are going to be very compact, just like my eyeglasses and your eyeglasses. And then we get to a point whereby it's all intuitive, right? I don't need to tell you, hey, Spencer, what can you see? The experience is great, just like how you pick up a phone and you're able to navigate around. So that's where we're going to. And I feel like that will be achieved within the next 3 to 5 years. It might come sooner. But again, that is the evolution of the metaverse and the technology in the space.
So should people be investing then in companies that create the hardware?
So good shout or good. So again, just like with everything, again, I'm not here to give investment advice,
No, of course.
Investment is always a risk, it's something of choice. Again, if you look at the layers of the metaverse, there's the hardware, there's the software, there's the infrastructure, there's the communication driver, there's 5G, there's the headset, there's the software as a platform, the metaverse. There's the NFT tied to it as virtual land, depending on use case. There are a lot of layers, right? So what I would encourage people to do is DYOR, which means do your own research. However, because it's complex, right? It's new. A couple of companies are doing well in the space. Do some research to understand the layers and how it fits together. And when you're comfortable, research more on companies providing services in those spaces, and then make a choice on investment.
Okay. When we look at an NFT,
yeah,
an NFT, whether that be tokenized for a parcel of land or whatever it might be, the fact is an NFT is 99%, or maybe a little bit less, you'll tell me this, priced in Ethereum.
Yeah. Okay.
What's the other one coming? Solana?
Yeah, Solana, there's Polygon, there's a lot of chains now, blockchains, yeah.
But a lot of it has been historically in Ethereum.
Yeah.
So my NFT, regardless of what I think it's worth, is always going to be worth the volatility that goes with Ethereum.
Yes and no.
Okay, tell me why.
Yes, in the sense that the wider crypto space is based on volatility, right? I feel like we still need some form of regulation within the space, and we're advocating for that. There's the VARA license that the Dubai government has instituted. We're on a call with them yesterday, and reached out to them to say, hey, we're a company based in Dubai. We're building a metaverse. We can work together, and you guys could use us as a case study for this framework regulation. So again, it's contributing to the success of the industry as well, not just building and making money and all of that. Is how do we grow together within the space? But back to your question, the volatility is the yes part, in the sense that a lot of NFTs are based on the Ethereum standard, whether it's be ERC 721 or ERC 1155. And apologies for the terminologies, it's just complex word. Yeah, it's like Word document or PDF or Excel kind of standards, basically. That's where the volatility comes in, because it's still driven by transaction fees within the Ethereum ecosystem. However, the no is you could mint your NFT on various blockchains that are, sustainable, cost effective, not as high transaction and cost fees like Ethereum, Polygon, Clayton, Solana, there are a couple of new ones coming out. So again, it's choice. But in the general sense of things, every price is still going to be impacted, or every product on the blockchain publicly facing, because you still have the private blockchains, publicly facing is impacted by the whole volatility of the crypto industry.
When the barrier to entry is so low in the NFT space in particular, and there's the opportunity for, what should we describe it as, the badder parts of our community to take advantage of that. Are people really playing a lottery when they buy NFTs? So
it's a funny one. Again, it's a yes or no question, right? Yes, in the sense that a lot of, I'd say 70% of people that buy NFTs just buy it because they see an NFT has gone 5x, 10x, 20x, 100x, in returns. And you're like, hey, I could lose $1,000, I could lose $500, I'm just going to chuck it. No, in the sense that some of these are well-grounded projects and respected, and the team behind it is savvy. They have business acumen, they have development clout, and all of that good stuff, right? And you buy into it because you believe in the project, right? So again, there's a lot of nefarious activities going on, yes, with every industry, not just the NFT, the banking, traditional world, they all go on, right? But for us, it's trying to make sure the good overshadows the bad, so that every analogy or any example of NFTs are highlighted in a good space rather than in the bad space.
Okay, got it. How did you get into this?
Ooh, good question. I heard about blockchain, crypto, more Bitcoin and XRP. XRP more. Back in 2017, I was working at Barclays at the time. We had a end of year party in December. I remember it vividly well. It was in December, somewhere in Canary Wharf, and one of my mates was saying, hey, there's this app, Coinbase, I have a couple of coins, I bought this, and, within a 2-day period, 20%, 30%. I was like, stock market will give you that in 2 days.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, hold on. I was like, how do I get involved? And he's like, oh, just download the app Coinbase, connect it to your debit card, and you transfer some funds and you can buy it. And I'm like, okay. So first thing I did was download Coinbase, right? Yeah. And the next thing I did was just Googled, because I think it was trying to sell me or tell me to buy Ripple XRP at the time, or Litecoin, I can't remember. So I Googled both of them and I was like, okay, what's this about? And for me, at some point, I shouldn't be saying this publicly, but at some point, I started realizing stuff that don't make sense makes you money, like stuff that you don't understand, and people get in, and there's a little bit of evidence around, income gain and, all of that stuff. And I was like, snap, I missed out on some nanotech investment a couple of years ago. And I was like, okay, hey, I'm hearing about blockchain, crypto, not really much. And I'm like, what is this? So I was like, okay, £100. I could afford it. Let's drop that in, bought some XRP, and I bought it. And I kid you not, the next day, I saw a 30% rise. The next day, 40%. The next day was double. I was like, hold on, is this a scam? What is this? Hold on. I was tempted to put in more money, but I did some research first. And apparently I found out that out of all the cryptos that were the top 10 at the time, XRP had a use case, in terms of remittance, me being from Nigeria, sending money back home. I understand the cost, the banks, and XRP was solving a cross-border payment problem. So I was like, okay, this makes more sense. All right, let's put some more money in it. I've done my research. Put that in.
So £100 was the first amount. What was the second amount? Come on,
hold on, Spencer. I think I put in about 1,000, and then another 1,000, and then I spoke to my wife. She put in some money too. Spoke to my friend. Like, I kid you not, I was literally an organic brand ambassador of XRP for like 7 months, and then crypto happened. First time it happened. So I saw profits in 4 digits turn to minus something, and I was like, hold. Everybody on Twitter is like, HODL, hold, and I'm holding, and I'm seeing my money go down. I'm like, shit. And then I just left and I focused on my day job. And then the next year, 2018, 2019, I think Father's Day of that year, the missus got me a virtual reality headset. The one you put your phone on, I think it's called the Google Catboard. You put your phone on and then, you're immersed. And it felt good. It felt like I was a child again. I was like, roller coaster, this, that. And it was good. And that parked for a while. And next thing, later on that year, I think late 2018, early 2019, virtual land came about, Decentraland, Somium Space. And I was like, XRP, I'm still, nursing my losses. Well, I wouldn't call it losses because I didn't sell it, right? But the decline when I saw profit and didn't take it. And then virtual land came about and I was like, okay, let's dabble into this. What's it? Nigeria, investment is more around stocks, real estate, right? In Nigeria, there's 0 to no mortgage available. So if you want to buy a house, or a lot of people build their houses or build their homes. So you first start off with buying land, you fence your land. The guy is called Omonile. The people that have the land don't come in and, the quote unquote have the land, come in and disrupt and break things and just build their own stuff, because anything real estate law in Nigeria is like ages and decades away. So with that concept or construct of, first buy land and you build, I did the same with, land in the central land and Summium space. And I bought a couple, I think at the time was about $200, and left that. I just land banked it. I was like, I didn't know what this was. I was just going with the flow. Again, money that I could afford to lose. And, hey, just went on back to my day job, focused hard. And then fast forward to 2021, January, right? I got an email from OpenSea with an offer for one of the pieces of land. And I think it was going for about 2 Ethereum or 3 Ethereum. And at the time, that was like about $10,000. I was like, hold on.
How much did you buy it for?
$200.
So $200, and someone offered you $10,000?
Yeah, less than 3 years after. So I first checked the sender of the email to make sure it was originally from OpenSea. I didn't click on any links. I went into, I can't remember, I think I had the MetaMask wallet on one of the laptops, and luckily I hadn't given that away. Dusted it, plugged it, charged it, set it up, and jumped into my account, and it was real. I saw it on 2 of the pieces of land. I think I had about 6, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna test this. Clicked on accept one. There was a couple of gas fees. The transaction didn't go through. I had to put Ethereum in. Eventually did that, hit on it, and then I saw it in my wallet. I was like, hold on, okay, this looks real. Let's put it in my bank account so I know it's real. Converted it again, Web3, bless us. We're gonna make this easier, guys. Converted it from my MetaMask Ethereum to, I think I used Uniswap to get that into USDC, then sent that to Coinbase, and then converted from USDC to GBP, and then withdrew that money into my bank account. And then I saw it and I was like, it's real.
Come on.
It's real. I gave my wife some of that money as well. She's smiling over there. But for me, it was like, hold on. Again, it wasn't just that. It was more around within the blockchain space, because I've been an investor, I've seen money, I've lost money. I kind of understand the space because I follow crypto Twitter, So again, when DeFi came out, I knew about that, Metaverse came out and all of that. So for me, it was always, okay, what is the next step? I've always been entrepreneurial right from my university days, which, we talked about earlier, but hey, let's park that for another day. And for me, it was like, it just felt like, hey, Jimmy, this looks like the next thing. Let's just start building. So in February, same year, spoke to Nick, a very good friend of mine. We've known each other for almost 10 years now, run a consulting together. And I was like, Nick, we should do this. And he's like, Jimmy, if you come again with another idea, what is it this time? I'm like, hey, Nick, chill. It's like blockchain, crypto. It's like, I don't understand this shit. I don't have a wallet. I don't even know what Bitcoin. I hear everyone talking about it. It's like, Nick, just chill. So I broke it down, started writing a business plan. We started talking to more people that, weren't necessarily in the crypto space. A lot of the founding team at Voltil were traditional folks, and it took a lot of convincing, but again, the idea kind of sold itself as well. It wasn't like a fintech app or like one of those apps out there. It was like a project. It was virtual reality. Like everyone was also blown away by it, So that's how Voltil started. And
did you have to raise money?
Yes.
And how did that go?
I could write a book about it. I kid you not. And
tough?
It was.
What was the most tough thing about trying to raise money for your Metaverse project?
It was the communication, the availability, the meetings, right? And we raise money differently, right? Conventionally is equity, right? We raise money through a token sale, right? We did very little bit of equity to friends and family, but it wasn't. So we started off with the equity round, talking to folks, and people just didn't get it. Like we started talking to people as far back.
The way you looked at me just then fascinated me. So yeah, people just didn't get it. I don't think people get it now.
And the notion of, a lot of investors invest in the team rather than the product or the numbers. Yeah. For me, it was just hard getting people to understand what this was about, because they don't see that use case and application in their day-to-day. We're talking about something that in the next 5 to 10 years, hey, there's going to be a form of AR, VR, MR everywhere, right? Like proper adoption. And the equity conversations were I was just like, I think we had over 30 conversations, and what came out of that was, maybe about £50,000. And I'm like, I'm spending time talking to these people, potential investors, spending time with the team, still building. Because I come from a tech background, I'm also involved heavily on the tech and the product, and then also trying to work out the marketing. And it was one of the toughest times in my life. And then we went to an event called DeFi Live. We pitched Voltil as one of the, I think, 5 out of 300 startups. We came second, but it wasn't even the position that mattered. It was the people in the room. And, one of the people reached out to us 2 days later to say, hey, we have a launch pad. What are you guys doing? Let's go through your stuff. You could raise money through, tokens and all of that, which we knew. We had been working with one of the top 10 launch pads, had about 3 meetings. We put all our eggs in just that basket. And I remember it was half term. I think we went to where did we go to that halftime? Somewhere up north, Butlins, and having a good time with the kids. Had the last meeting, and then about coming back to Kent, got the news that hey, they were interested. Like, I kid you not. Like, I wanted to jump. I wanted the floor to open and just swallow me. When you're working so hard for just one thing to click, and it just doesn't. I felt it was
big relief.
No, it was just like, what the hell have we been doing? Like, how did we get this wrong? Like, the rejection, but chin up. The only launch pad we worked hard, prepared, looked at their criteria, put everything in place, spent a whole lot of money on legal. There's something when you start up a project in a space called the legal opinion of tokens, which shows your token is not a security. That cost money. Went to a legal firm in London, 5 figures was the cost, and we were spending money. So originally I bootstrapped the company, sold a couple of virtual lands to get it up, remortgaged a couple of my investment properties as well, and put some money to get a team, a young team together. And then coming back to the fundraising, we found those guys at DeFi Live in London in 2021, reached out to us to say, hey, we like what you're doing. Let's have a conversation. They looked at our tokenomics. So we raised funds through token sales. So in the blockchain world, you could do tokens or you could do equity, or you could do both, right? And we did tokens. And those guys introduced us to some other guys, and those guys introduced us to some other guys. And at the end of the day, we had 7 launch pads. So we went from rejection of 1 to +7. And it was just incredible. Like, everyone wanted a conversation. I think what kind of also accelerated it was, I think late summer that year, Facebook changed their name to Meta. There were a lot of play to earn games, a lot of Metaverse, quote unquote, coming out saying they're doing X, and the momentum was there, right? And weren't at the time I don't know if we're in a bear market now, but crypto was still going up. Bitcoin was thriving to 50, 60 grand. Everyone had money, right? So it was more of, okay, let's just check which projects make sense. Let's look at the teams and then jump in. And I think that was part of the catalyst for fundraising for us. But the pressure, the time, times I'm on calls with Asia at 2 a.m. UK time, with Canada, it was just odd hours, and I didn't mentally prepare myself for that. I was just like, hey, let's just go. And it took a toll, but after it was raised, it was like, because when we started, one of the guys we got introduced to was like, Jimmy, raising money is hard. Sorry, raising money is easy. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I've been trying to raise money like the last 6 months. And then when we raised money, I was like, shit, raising money is easy. The hard part is building. So hiring the team, putting the vision, internal politics, marketing, like it's
all the things a normal company has to do with.
It's just nonstop. Like, even when we reach a huddle where we've released product, it's like, oh yeah, how do we get customers? How do we retain customers? It's like, I'm like, guys, I just want to be a kid again.
So how much money did you raise?
So we did 2.1 million through the public sale.
Dollars,
yes.
Dollars, okay.
We've been quite prudent with it in the sense that from a resourcing perspective, we've gone through high cost, low cost location, nearshore, offshore, and remote as well. Our team's fully remote. We have a small office in Dubai.
How many people are part of your team?
So we're 31 now.
Okay, and so you're able to raise money, which gives you this runway for you to be able to spend on the things that are important to develop develop this Vault Hill out.
Yeah.
What's going to be really interesting for me? Okay, and take me, because it's probably best we just use me. What's going to be interesting for me, and how am I going to benefit from what you're doing?
Great. So we've looked at the market, we've looked at the industry, right? And we've positioned Vault Hill quite strategically, right? To look at, you talked about earlier, should people invest in the hardware, all of that stuff. Now, we've looked at it from a need basis, right? So if you want to come into the metaverse, what do you need? What do you need to know? And how do you do it? So
how to get out?
How do you get out? Exactly. How do you exit as well? So a couple of companies specialize in, we just provide the technology. You go figure out what you want to do. Come to us, we'll build for you. A couple of tech companies also specialize in the marketing. Would hype your NFT project, would do whatever, guerrilla marketing, growth hacking, hey, whatever you call it. Again, across the whole sphere, there is a service and a product and an industry to be serviced, right? And what we have is a 360 product. So within our product ecosystem of Vault Hill, we have 4 products, right? And each of them touch each other and provide a 360 service for any and everyone that wants to come into the metaverse. So the first is Metaverse as a product. Eventually it'll become a platform. So in this, we have the virtual land as NFTs. We have the no-code builder tool. So if you want to build this nice, amazing villa by yourself, basic stuff, you could do it yourself with our no-code builder tool when it's deployed. But if you now want to add like the Burj Khalifa on top of your villa and then add a bit of Big Ben, come to us, product number 4, XR Consulting will do that for you, right? And then the last within the metaverse is the VR headsets, right? So we've taken the cost off and partnered with HTC, and for every virtual land anyone buys within our metaverse, you get the hardware. So again, it's adoption, it's education, and how to make you self-sufficient.
So how do you price it?
Good question. So we've looked through a number of things, right? We're a business, we're not for charity, we need to make a profit, right? We've looked through the cost of production, from the smart contracts, the art, the design, the marketing, the advertising, business development, legal, regulation, all of the stuff, right? We've looked through the burn rate of the organization, we've looked through hardware cost, and we've looked at potential future revenue and income and added it together and then said, hey, for this lifetime of 3.5 years when we're doing this, this is how we price this to create a healthy investment for our investors as well as the organization to be profitable. And then post 3.5 years, these are the kind of things, product and services, so things like leasing, renting, that we'll put in place to sustain the company, for another 10, 15, 20 years. Again, the industry is changing, it's fast paced, there's technology coming out every other day. So we need to be quite resilient to pivot to say, hey, we had the strategic direction for year 1. Oh, year 2 is come. Facebook has done this, or Apple has released this. The market is going to go in there. All right, let's pivot to what we're doing to, support that. We can't do everything.
But you price based around all of your costs and to be a profitable business, but how do you then compare?
So you also look at what the competition is doing, right? So in the space, if we even focus on one of the product lines, the Metaverse, which one of the sub-product lines is virtual land, right? Virtual land in Decentraland goes for about 20,000 a piece. Virtual land in Sumium space goes for about 10 to 12,000, right? So again, it's not looking at what your competition is doing and then saying, hey, how do I price correctly? Now, we've started off our land at $2,000 because we worked out the cost as at where we are and where the market is, the industry is, the price point for people to come in to say, hey, this is quite affordable for what you get and where we're trying to go to. And then hopefully, hey, you never know, next year it might be $20,000 or $30,000 a piece of land. And the idea of scarcity brings that price hike or price increment in as we go on. We made a business plan to do this over a 3.5 year period. We're not just selling all our land in the first month or the first year. So again, it's looking at all of that and pricing it competitively to be, to have an edge in the market.
How many land parcels will there be in total?
10,000.
And how many have you sold?
Good question. 128.
And how will you sell them over the course of the coming months and years? What's the structure? You sell a certain amount every quarter, or how do you do it?
So we're working on that. I'm not going to tell you I know exactly that. Now, the reason why we've not set out a plan to say, hey, every quarter we sell X is fundamentally when you buy land, the question is, what do I do with it? Mm-hmm. Now, in the background, the team are building, the no-code builder tool, building in functionalities for content creators to be able to import stuff and design stuff, right? Once we get to that point, which we will get to by Q4 this year, in parallel, we'll start working through land deployment. So the more customers we have and the more need for land, we start to increase and we start to deploy land.
I get this. So basically, people can buy land, but they can't put much on it right now.
Correct.
Okay, you want to be in a position where they can buy land and they can spend more money on putting the things on the land.
Exactly.
Yeah? Okay,
exactly.
And then that's more profitable for you as a business.
Correct.
Okay, and then they've got more to trade as well, essentially.
Exactly.
Okay, got
exactly.
it. Understood.
So we don't just want to say, hey, here's land, and you're like, oh, I need to wait a year. Oh, what can I do? Nothing.
But Snoop Dogg didn't move in next door either. He could.
He could.
Anyone could.
Anyone could.
Tell me about how this is. How old are you?
34.
It's complicated. You're talking to people about something they don't understand. You're trying to get people excited about something that you're excited about, but they don't understand. You really believe in it. It reminds me, have you heard of a company called Beirut?
Yes.
Okay, so the founders of Beirut, I've been fortunate enough to become friends with, and they told me about the first year of raising capital. And so there's three brothers, very smart guys, very, very smart guys. They set this company up and they wanted to raise some money. And they went networking to every single networking event possible for a year. And at the end of the year, they'd attended over 100 events and they hadn't raised a penny. And I'm like, did you know what you were doing? They went, we didn't have a clue. And so what people will do is, is they got to the end of that year and they're like, we didn't know how to raise money. We didn't know what we were doing. At the end of the year, we'd had all these networking events and it was just like, it was a bit soul destroying. Yeah. And then somebody contacted them a couple of weeks after that year who knew somebody that had attended one of the events to talk to them about the project.
Yeah.
And they were the first investor.
Nice.
And so that's how it happened. And that investor then taught them how to go about raising money.
Yeah.
But up until that point, they didn't know how to do it. And I imagine being that person, going night after night, week after week to these events, talking to people sitting there going, oh yeah, as they've got, their drink in their hand. Oh, that's really interesting. Tell me more about it. And you're telling them about it. And they're like, nah.
Time wasters.
Yeah, all those kind of like, what do you call it? Tire kickers, we call it, don't we? How relentless you have to be and how disciplined you have to be and how committed you have to be, knowing you really believe in something and you just know it's going to work. You just don't know how just yet without the money. Did you go through those types of emotions yourself? Did you get to a point at all where you were like, do you know what, this isn't worth it?
For me, with all my endeavors, I'm very driven, right? So if I start something, I want to see through and go for it and get support as much as possible, right? And because I strongly believe in Voltail, I had the conviction last year, December, to quit my day job. Healthy salary, 6 figures, London, nice title, nice role, big budget, big team. But for me, I felt there was something else, right? And that was when, I just said, hey, I had to pivot into Voltail full time. I can't do this on the side and all of that good stuff. And yes, in the sense that, did I know everything at once? No. Did I know who to talk to, where to go? No. It was all constant learning. At a point, talking about events, at a point I told the team, I'm not doing events for 3 months because I want to focus on build product. I want to go from going on stage and talking about Voltail as a dream to, hey, here's Voltil, this is a product. You could go in and do X. It's a more compelling narrative. And my mom used to say this to me growing up in Yoruba. It's an adage. It's She kokorioko ni nigbati orun mole. So it means make hay when the sun shines.
Yes.
You know, so make sure you are pivoting and you're doing as much as possible when you can. You know, for me, you're gonna hate me, but age is on my side a little bit, right? Like you said earlier. And for me, it's working hard at this moment in time while I can. You know, raising a young family, you know, being married, and you know, still grafting as much as you know to change the world, right? Because I'm not doing Voltil to just be profitable to make money, right? I want to pivot to a place where what we're doing is self-sufficient and helping people, impacting the world in numerous and diverse ways, right? So for me, it's always trying to be the best at what you do and learn from people.
Makes sense. I think that energy you have when you're younger keeps you going anyway. Because the reality is, and you don't see it when you're your age, but the reality is this could all go horribly wrong and you'll still be okay. What do you think could go wrong with Voltil?
A couple of things, right? So one is misalignment of direction, right? So as we're growing, I'm starting to hire senior folks to drive some of my vision. And if you bring in people that, I wouldn't say not aligned, because you bring in people that are kind of aligned to your vision, but it's all about execution, right? If you bring in people that take too long to execute a vision because of X, Y, and Z, either support, money, tenacity of the team, whatever it is, things start to go wrong, right? So that is one. Two is getting profitable in good time, right? You know, I want to set the stage for founders that start a company and, again, not just raise revenue, become profitable, i.e. you're earning more than you're spending, you know, as a business, right? And if we're not able to achieve that, you know, things will go wrong. You know, I need to go start raising money again, which we will do, but again, that's for expansion and for more of the stuff we want to build within the vision. So I'd say those are the two key things that, you know, could go wrong. But again, it's now thinking through mitigation plans, you know, risk models as to how to mitigate these.
You've raised a couple of million already. You're well on your way to producing something that's going to be what I believe a rip-roaring success. So Jimmy, thank you for coming and sharing your story today and telling us all about Voltil. It's been a lot of fun. If you've enjoyed this episode, then you will have learned two clear things. Number one, a bit more about how the metaverse works and what Voltil are doing. And secondly, the journey of an entrepreneur, trying to raise money, the struggles he faced, and really wondering whether it was all going to work out. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to Jimmy. I really did. What a great guy. What a great personality and character. If you want to see more episodes, you can click over here. If you want to subscribe, you can click over there. Subscribing costs you nothing. Press the bell button. And every time I produce a piece of content, you will be the first person to see it.